Hello, Brother Sewing and Crafting family. I'm Brother Brand Ambassador Angela Wolf, and welcome to a new week of sewing. I'm so excited. So today we have the fabulous Joanne Banko, and I don't know about you, but she makes the coolest things. And this is a hanger cover, which you're probably thinking, I don't know if I've ever seen one of those. But once you do, you're going to want to make a lot of these. So hang tight. I'll be right back. All right, so if you've never been here before, we are live streaming on Brother Sewing, YouTube and Facebook pages. I can see all of your comments and questions. I'm very excited to see Joanne come in, and be sure to say hi, say where you're from. You never know, your neighbor might be sewing next to you or ice fishing. One of these. Joanne Banko, how are you?
Hey everybody, I'm good. How are you?
Oh, it's so nice to see you.
Good to see you, Angela, and everybody else here. Wow, we got lots of people rolling in already. Hey everybody.
Your jackets look amazing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. They're nice and warm. You had one other layer underneath there and you're good to go.
So I know you're going to be showing hanger covers today, but before we go there, I don't know, are you getting this massive storm that's coming? I think we're getting it tonight.
I don't know if we're getting another one. We are just like, there's so much snow out there right now. It's crazy, crazy,
It's
crazy,
kind of,
crazy.
Big
Big piles.
Same here. You know what, though? I love this time of year because it's a great time to stay in and sew. And I think I'm going to be doing that for a couple of days because we're supposed to get like another foot.
You are so right. I know, if you're in whatever kind of weather, I always say the sun always shines in the sewing room. So no matter what the weather is outside.
I agree. So I told everyone that you're going to be doing a hanger cover, but it's not, I would say not just a hanger cover. Your hanger covers are beautiful as a gift to put in your closet. I love these. So why don't you show them what you're going to be doing today?
Sure thing. I got a bunch of stuff behind me that I'm going to have to grab here. So this is the hanger cover that is being featured right now on the Brother Free Design of the Month. I have a cat on my table who is driving me crazy all of a sudden here. Sorry about that. There's no way to keep her out of here because she will howl like a wolf if I try to lock her up somewhere. So anyway, this is done on a very simple hanger, just, your old standard wire form. Grab my, the kind we all like don't know what to do with. We feel kind of guilty throwing them away. Maybe you find a place to recycle them. I don't know, but you get these and you just don't know really what to do with them.
I usually end up throwing those away. I have nothing to do with those. Is that what you're putting on these?
That's what I did this one with. Now I'll show you some other options, but that's the beauty of making a custom hanger cover, is that you can use it for any kind of hanger you like to use, no matter what, because I'm going to show you how I made the pattern. And so you can make this pattern from absolutely any type of hanger. I just like recycling these. These are, especially, this particular hanger cover, it's with this type of hanger, it's not really thick. So I like to use these in particular in my coat closet, because the coat closet just seems to always be smashed. Anybody else have that problem? You're, especially in our climate, all of our coats are pretty much, big and puffy and thick. So if your hanger takes up space, that takes up even more space. And this just works really well. But they're very, very pretty. They're great for coordinating with a custom item that you're making, as a gift, just with a monogram on it. I've always had this idea, I haven't done it yet, but to make a days of the week set, for those who, have to plan out their wardrobe every day of the week. That would be a nice way to do that. They're great in even a kid's size. So if you're making a special children's garment and you want to, spice it up a little bit, make a matching hanger cover. That's a good idea, Susie. I'm sure they probably will, but it's one of those things we just don't get around to. We just end up piling them all somewhere.
Wait, you just made me think of something. This is terrible, but You know, during like the COVID lockdown a couple years ago, we don't need to remember that. But every day it was like, today is Monday. Today is, these would have been perfect.
You're right. You're absolutely right. But you know, they're fun, they're easy, they're quick, they're perfect for the person who has everything, and they're a great way to just dress up your own closet. And a lot of times we neglect our own selves, but if you can make some of these, you'll really enjoy it. And then depending on what hanger you use. Now, I just used the regular plain old wire hanger, but if you use a hanger that's a little bit thicker, and you do this, you'll have even a little bit more padding. So they work really well to keep your clothes from getting what I call the dreaded hanger bump. So they're just, serve a good purpose for sure.
You know, also, when you just said that, the dreaded hanger bump, a lot of times when you hang your knits up, which they always tell you, hang your knit tops because they look nicer. I usually put them in a drawer, but that would get rid of those little points. Do you ever see anybody? Well, actually, I've done it myself, where you're walking out, you got two little bumps here just from the hanger.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And you don't notice it until the last minute because you go to just put that on, and so this is another style that's really popular. These are a little bit bigger and a little bit thicker. So when I show you my pattern in a minute, I have a pattern from this one as well. Let's talk just for a minute about fabrics, because I used a polyester satin for my hanger cover. The depth of it doesn't really show whenever you have something shiny on on the screen, but very inexpensive. It comes in a lot of different colors, and so if you want to make something a little bit, just with a little added elegance, you can use this. But I've got a couple samples here today that I just used ordinary muslin. So, muslin is something that we've seen, we've used for years for a variety of things. But I purchase the highest quality I can get, and I get the permanent press style. And then I buy usually in 10 or 15 yards at a time, so that I always have that on hand. It's one of my basic staples. And when you polish it up with a little bit of embroidery and add the padding to it, it makes a really nice cover.
What was that last fabric before the muslin, Joanne, that you mentioned? Cindy didn't quite catch
that was polyester satin. Polyester satin. It's rather thin. I don't have a piece of it before I fused anything to it, but it's just a polyester satin, not thick. More like a lining weight. Mm-hmm. But it's not actually lining. It's designed for you to, costumers use it. You can make fancy blouses out of it, dresses. It's like a dress weight. Okay.
Sounds good.
So let's talk about fusible, and I'll rely on you to keep your eye on the comments and the questions. But fusible fleece is another item that I actually buy this by the bolt and keep it because I use it so much. So it's got one side that's rough and bumpy, and that is the glue side, and it's rather thin. So this is just called craft fleece when you look for it. It doesn't come in a variety of different ways. It's pretty much, it is what it is. And this is what I use for padding the hanger covers. You could use just regular batting. You could use cotton batting, whatever you like. Anything that you add a little bit thicker would make that hanger cover a little puffier. So that's up to you as well. And then another fabric, if you can find it, is pre-quilted. I used to purchase this a lot, single face pre-quilted. I haven't been able to find it lately. I don't know why. So you'll find double face quilted. That'll work too. And then you don't have to add the fusible. It's all done for you. Okay.
But Joanne, if somebody happened to get a Fabulous Brother machine that has the move it foot, they can quilt their own. Well, you can quilt your own with the walking foot.
Thank you for saying that, because I had that in my notes and didn't I forget to say it.
First thing I was thinking was the fabric of my garment, I could now quilt my own. And if you have the big hoop in the Luminaire, you could quilt the whole thing with embroidery while you're drinking tea. How's that?
You can quilt it with decorative stitches if you wanted to. There's a lot you can do. In fact, if you don't have an embroidery machine, I'm going to say yet and you're watching this, stay tuned, because you don't have to embroider the hanger cover at all if you don't want to. However, the beautiful design on this hanger cover, not the initial, obviously that was added on the machine, but the beautiful scrolling design is actually the free design of the month that was contributed by Brother this month on the Brother Stitching Social blog. And I know I said January, and I know today is February, so I'm not confused. But we had to schedule this show a little bit later, so this free scroll design will stay up on the Brother blog until Friday, February 4th. So make sure you go and grab it, because these designs, when they come out pretty much near the first of every month, and coordinate with a project that I design on, you know, as wearing my Brother ambassador hat. And they only last for a month. So you need to make sure you're checking that website and downloading your design and saving it before it goes away at the end of the month.
What I'll do for all of you watching that maybe you've never gone to the Brother blog before, I will put it in the comments, both here on Facebook and YouTube, so you can click on that. Or you can go to brothersews.com, which I have the website scrolling down below. And if you scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page, there's a crafting and a sewing blog. So you can't miss it. But I'll put a link here so you guys can't miss it. All right.
Very good. So you said quilting, Angela, and that was just like the perfect thing to mention, because when you do this, even though you're using the fusible fleece, you don't have to quilt it if you don't want to. But you're going to see in a minute when I show you the pattern that you're going to cut for a big rectangular piece of fabric. So the batting is already fused on there. It's cut a little bit oversized. So now would be the perfect time to add those quilting stitches to this big rectangle of fabric. Then I would embroider it. Then I would place my pattern back on and cut it out. Okay. So let me show you the patterns. Again, I got to reach for quite a few things here. So this pattern is done very easily. You can do it on paper. I'm just holding the board up so that you can see it really good. But it's so hard to get the angle on these cameras. You know, you're like all tilted and kilted. So what I did, and you can see, I just simply took this hanger, grab my hanger here. I laid it on the paper. You could also use pattern tracing cloth. In fact, I prefer pattern tracing cloth if I've got a hanger size and style that I use often. Let me get this lined up here. All right, now I'll hold it. Okay. The pattern tracing cloth is, you know, it's not going to wrinkle like paper. It's not going to get torn at all. And so I use that pretty much regularly, but paper will work. So I just laid the hanger on the paper. I traced the outline, and then I went around and I added 5/8 inch seam allowance all the way around. Now I will tell you, if you decide to do batting that's a little bit thicker than what we've got in the instructions, I would probably add 3/4 of an inch, and then maybe baste your hanger cover seam when you sew it to make sure it slips over your hanger, because there's nothing worse than making the hanger cover, getting it all finished, putting it on your hanger and finding it out that it's too small. And been there, done that. Don't want to do it again. Okay. So once I've traced that, then I'm going to add 2 inches to the bottom. And obviously all of this is in the instructions. And then at the top, I'm going to mark off a 1 inch opening. You see that opening there where my fingers are, because you're going to stop sewing at that point, and that's what's going to actually leave the opening for you to slip your hanger cover through. Now, I will tell you, I've done many different hanger covers, and there's an It's So Easy TV show on my YouTube channel, Let's Go Sew with Joanne Banko. Don't remember the actual show number, but that show, I had a whole bunch of different hanger covers on there in all different styles. And another one of my favorite styles to make is to actually have a buttonhole opening at the top. that you can do, and I'll do like embroidered buttonholes sometimes. So
Oh,
lots of
that's a good idea.
potentials.
So just to be clear, add 2 inches to the bottom and leave 1 inch at the top for an opening, in case those of you that weren't writing fast enough. And don't worry, if you are following this and you're like, wait, go back, you'll be able to watch this again. If you're on Facebook, share it to your page. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, and you can also share this to watch later. So you'll be able to go back and see everything.
And all of the step by step is that a phrase? Instructions are in the Brother Stitching social blog. The blog stays active. That whole instruction file will stay there. It's just that the free design goes away at the end of the month. Now, obviously, you can add other designs to it too. So you can see here, here's my pattern tracing cloth version. And this pattern is created on a fold of fabric, so that when I open it up, I've got the rectangular pattern to cut from. So I can cut my fabric on the fold when I cut it out, but I like to cut my batting using a full-size pattern, and having the ability to open this up and cut a single layer instead of folding it and cutting it on a folded double layer. That works really well if you're trying to work out on a scrap of fabric, a small piece, or you're trying to match a pattern on your fabric, or whatever you're trying to do. It's nice to have the full size piece and have us be able to do it both ways. All right. So I think I've got that all covered. Any questions so far?
No, just a side one. Vicky says, is that a piece of fabric behind you or wallpaper?
Great question, Vicky. It actually is a piece of fabric. It's basically hung like a curtain on a curtain rod. So I know it's pretty cool. It's got good sewing stuff on it, so it's good.
So yep, no other questions. Everyone's saying thank you. You're giving such great details. They're following along great.
All right, so I think we're ready then to switch over to the machine. Oh, before we do, let me show you one more thing, because anybody that has heard me talk before, and especially when it comes to embroidery, I have a phrase that I repeat often, that is, it is always best to test. And I did test this on the satin. So just kind of realize that if you're adding any kind of a different design, with any more density than this light scroll, I selected this design particularly so that I could stitch it on satin. And I'm going to show you a little trick of what I did with the letter. But, satin, I would have to say, is one of two. So I like to add some type of batting or inner final project with it. I just did a letsgosew.com website on embroidering on tricky fabrics, preventing puckers, whole bunch of different things. And I actually have a list there of what my favorite interfacings are to add to fabric to beef it up, because very often you need to beef it up. And I see Josie says, Josie Sews says it would be great to get a little bit of a wedding dress and add the lace. That is a fabulous idea. Love that.
You're definitely gonna have to go back and read the comments after the live show, because there was another one up here too. Let me see if I can find her. She was watching on YouTube. Oh yeah, here we go. Bernice said she put the zipper at the bottom and you can keep accessories.
Oh yeah, there are so many ways to customize this. You could put a pocket very easily. Just put a pocket on the back. So if you want to add jewelry, you could add a loop so that you could hang a scarf on there if you wanted to. And Cindy wanted to see the back, so the back is just plain. And you can see that I've also trimmed this with a little bit of ribbon. Let me bring that close to the camera, and I use the braiding foot for that. So I'm going to show you how that goes on as well. All right. Okay, so speaking of testing, let me show you my blooper. We all like to see those bloopers, right? Well, I was playing around on my first sample, and I thought, oh, it'd be kind of fun to do it as a bracket and add the initial in the center. But I wasn't really paying attention to my placement and how big my fabric was, and so my design is a little bit off from where I want it to be. You can see I've got the extra length there, for the hanger, and I didn't really explain that really well. That extra 2 inches is not for a 2-inch hem. It's the extra 2 inches so that you're sure that you cover your hanger completely, because that's another faux pas that you don't want to have happen. You don't want to have your hanger cover end up showing your hanger, you know, underneath there. You want that completely covered. All right. So hopefully that makes sense. So I'm going to actually sew on my blooper today because I don't want to waste it. And there's really, you know, it's not a bad enough blooper to end up in the in the discard file. It'll work.
I have to say, that blooper looks pretty good. But
it also kind of made me think that, you know, that was a little bit too much embroidery for the satin, because I had to really press that out pretty well. So it's pretty smooth once you press it, but it's nice if you have something just a little bit lighter because it's just a little bit more compatible. Just seeing a question here, Melissa, is the hanger permanently enclosed in the cover? No, it is not. This is all open, so it just slips right over the top of that. And yes, Arnell, I thought of you when I did the purple.
Arnell loves purple.
The purple looks pretty, really pretty on there. You can, like I said, you can find this in a lot of different colors. All right, so let me go ahead. You can take me away for a minute, and I'll switch over to my other camera here.
All right, sounds good. When I see her come back, I will bring her up. Now, don't forget, you can ask questions. I would love to know, by the way, if you're going to do this project, even if you have other things, I'm watching some of your comments. Fleece would be great. Any of those things, something easy. But make sure you share your photos and do #BrotherSews because we love to see that. All right, I think Joanne's back.
Not quite.
Nope. Okay, Joanne's not back. Not quite yet. I have to laugh. I was watching her cattail go as she's sitting there. She probably couldn't see it in the camera, but it's hilarious. Her cat is the coolest. I can see all of you rolling in. Hello, hello. More people that are rolling in even later. Excellent. So by the way, in case I forgot to mention, do you know what today is? Well, besides February 1st, National Embroidery Month. So one thing I want to share with you is that this entire month, all the Brothers shows are going to be something about embroidery. So on Thursday, we have 4 educators joining to give you tips for perfect embroidery. You won't want to miss it. So as well as going to Joanne's blog, because she has a lot of tips on there too. So I'll just wait for her to give me a thumbs up and then I'll bring her back in here. About my top. Hey, Cindy, this top is as old as Moses. I've been cleaning out my closet. Now I need to make hanger covers. But this is the ruche tee, and I did the peep sleeves. I showed this in Fashion Sewing Club recently, maybe a few months back. So it's a knit fabric, and I did the tall collar with it. But the fabric is of rayon. It's super soft. But I usually wear a black sweater with this in the winter, but it's kind of fun. So I'm cleaning out the drawers. That was January's project, right? Thanks for asking, though. And Karina, by the way, your box is in the car. I just picked it up. I can hardly wait to open it. All right, Joanne, are you ready for me?
So I want to show just how I created the design really quick. Because First of all, when you download this design, it is going to be turned in the opposite direction. And I'm going to take my hoop off for just a second. Depending on your personal pattern, you may end up needing to stitch your your embroidery in the horizontal position. Now you might be able to stitch it with your hoop vertical, but a lot of that depends on the hanger size, and how much length you add to it. So for this particular case, I had to flip it around. So you can do it either way you want, but if you look at the design, the heart is actually, there's like a little heart on there. It is at the bottom, and I wanted it to be at the top, so it made a little bit more room for the initial. So I'm just going to select the design. I'm going to touch set. I am working on the Luminaire, but this design will work in any 5x7 hoop, so you'll be good with that. I'm going to go to edit, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to, like I said, rotate that so that my heart there's like that little heart scroll. It's more open there, gives a little more room for the initial, is at the top. I'm going to say okay. And then I'm going to add a letter from the built-in designs. And again, I would select something that's not too heavy, not too dense, a little bit on the lighter side. I like this one because it's kind of a nice compromise. and it's still a nice bold letter, but it's not too awful thick. So I'm going to do the same thing with this. I'm going to rotate it. I'm going to rotate it to the right. I'm going to move it. And I want to give you a little tip on lettering. Hopefully you can see that pretty good. If you look at that, I'd love for everybody else to take a really good look at that and see, does that look a little off to you? It looks a little off to me. And here's the lesson in this. When you add lettering, whether it's a letter or a string of letters or whatever it is, all letters have slightly different shapes and tilts, and they all look a little different with something, added to something else, or when other letters are added to them. So when I look at this, my eye tells me that needs to go down a little bit. Even though this position was centered, centering with that particular design just doesn't quite look good to me. So I'm going to move it, and I am going to just simply, like I said, trust my eye. So again, we're the pickiest people in the world, and we're probably the ones most likely to, point out, oh, my letter was a little bit off. It should have been 1/8 of an inch, So most other people aren't going to notice that. But just so you know, that really is something that I do regularly. All right, now one more little trick here, and that is, I know I'm working on a fabric that would benefit from a less dense design. And the beauty of our lettering, I think this is pretty common in most of our Brother machines. Check your model to see. But when you touch that density key, you now have the option to either increase or decrease the density. So it doesn't change the stitches a lot. It just creates a little more breathing room in the stitches when you select lower density. They only gave you a 20% range, so it's not enough to really, change it too much, just enough to, give you a little bit, like I said, breathing room. Now on the opposite end, when would we ever want to increase that? Well, you can increase the density, again, 20. And that is, for my purpose, generally something that I use if I'm doing a letter on a high contrast color fabric. Maybe I'm doing a black letter on white fabric or a white letter on black fabric. By having the opportunity in your Brother machine to increase the density, it will just pack in a few more stitches and have a better chance of not having that background fabric peek through. Okay, so once I've done that, then I'm able to finish up my design, go to embroidery, and I would go back to layout, and I would touch move, and I would center now that entire group. So I'm good to go. All right. So I'm going to come back to just the screen here so that you can see me for a minute. And I'm just going to hold up the fabric. I don't have mine marked. In the instructions, you'll see that I tell you the best position that I found for this is to have your fabric folded and then find the halfway mark widthwise and lengthwise. So you're going to mark, the center of your lower part of your rectangle, which is going to end up being the center front of your hanger cover once you get it on there with your pattern. Okay. So if you look at the instructions, you might see that I use the snowman marker. And funny thing is, I couldn't find any snowmen today. Now it is sunny outside, and it's going up to almost 40. So I think they might have all melted and ran out of my sawyer. But normally I have sheets and sheets and sheets of that. I have a feeling I, put them somewhere so they wouldn't get wrinkled, and I don't know where they are. So
it's probably, I know exactly where it is, Joanne. It's with your stylus.
and the little wire thing that we all, yeah, exactly. But that's all you want to do is mark that and then hoop your fabric so that that marking is in the center. And that's why I said you could probably see, depending on your design and the size of your hanger cover, your hoop may need to go this way instead of this way, because you always want your hoop to be full of fabric. That's like, unless you're using some other form of connecting your fabric to your hoop by, sticky method. Whenever you're hooping fabric, you always want your entire hoop to be full of fabric. All right, so now I'm going to actually just take this off the hoop and show it off the machine and show you the finished item. And you can see in this particular case, I selected kind of a tone-on-tone look and did everything in that one color. That's another kind of one of my favorite styles in embroidery is to create a tone-on-tone look. And just as a kind of a side note, if you're doing this as a gift for someone, you only need to find out two things. You already know their name, so you know that their initial and then their favorite color. And you can use a neutral colored background and do their initial with a scrolling design like this and their favorite color, and you've got a winner, right? You've definitely got a winner.
Very rich looking too.
Definitely, very heirloomy kind of elegant looking. So once you've done that, then you're going to actually take I'm going to grab this again. Got a lot of juggling to do here. And now you're ready. And I don't have this one embroidered, obviously, but I'll show you what you do next. Then you're going to take your pattern and you're going to put it on top of that fabric. You're going to match. You see what I did? I marked the center of my pattern tracing cloth, and you can see I've trimmed my pattern to outside of where my seam allowance is. My rectangle, I usually cut just a little bit oversized with a little bit of margin at the edges. And then I'm going to line up the center of my hanger cover pattern with the center of my embroidered design, and I'm going to cut it out. So then what I've got is a piece that would look like this, my blooper piece. Okay, so we're ready to stitch this. So Angela, if you want to check the comments and questions for a few minutes, I'm going to switch over to sewing, and then I'll let you know when I'm ready to come back. Okay?
Sounds good. Just give me a thumbs up.
All righty.
See ya. I can see some of your comments. I love your ideas, by the way. I see some other people saying what they've used this for. Oh, Shirley, did you say you just cleaned your sewing room and found how many styluses? Okay, that's funny. I'm working on the cleaning process still. It looks like a bomb hit here. I saw, was it Wendy that said when I said I have my fabric since Moses, did Moses have fabric like this? I don't know, but it's a pretty old top. We'll go with that. I don't know. I love it when you can buy fabric that lasts that long though. I mean, I've worn this top a ton. If you look back even at the It's So Easy episodes from years ago, it was on there. So I don't see Joanne back yet. I think she's switching to her sewing machine. So we'll see her in a sec. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comment. Oh, I saw somebody saying who's coming on Thursday for the show at noon. It's a panel. It'll be Jerry Granada, who's an excellent quilter, by the way, but he's also an excellent embroiderer. You've got Sarah Vetzer, and Sarah is really cool. She said she's new to embroidery. So she's very excited to come to the show because she said she thinks she's going to give some tips to somebody who's never embroidered before. We've got Kathy Gandy and Jane Olson. So it'll be a great show. Mark your calendar, noon on Thursday. All right, I think Joanne is just about ready. Almost. She's getting her sewing machine set up for you. I saw somebody asking when you take, okay, gotcha, Joanne. Hey, Joanne, you're on the Luminaire, correct?
I am on the Luminaire, yes.
So you can actually answer this question because you're right there. You have it set up for embroidery, and someone said, can you sew while it's set up for embroidery?
Absolutely. Oh, great question. Absolutely, positively. I still have I'll swing over and you can just see, I still have my embroidery arm, and all I did was park it. You simply go to the home screen and you touch sewing, and that arm will shift over to the left, park itself in place, and you've got all this surface area to do your sewing. So no problem whatsoever. I do it all the time.
Sounds wonderful.
All the time. All right, so I am going to start by clean finishing the hem edge. And I want to show you the foot that I'm going to use is the G foot. And I love this foot. This is an overcasting foot, and I'm going to use it with an overcasting stitch. It's pictured in the instructions again, but on my Luminaire, it's 1-17. It's my favorite overcasting stitch. The beauty of this foot is that it has a bar on the foot, and the stitches actually wrap around it so that when the stitch forms on your fabric, it doesn't pucker up. Now, you could use a serger to finish that edge. You could use a zigzag stitch, whatever works for you. I'm going to leave my embroidery thread in there because it'll create a little bit of contrast, but I want to show you how nice this is to overcast on the edge. There's a gap between the long toe on the foot and the short toe on the foot, and you want to line up the raw edge of your fabric right in that gap, just like that. And I'm going to go ahead and just start stitching. It's a wonderful, wonderful overcast stitch. It's nice to be able, when you're doing something that only needs a little bit of that edge overcast, to have that done really quickly and really easily. So you can use this on, lots and lots and lots of different projects. This particular overcast stitch is ideal for sewing narrow knit seams as well. So I'm going to stop, cut the thread because I don't need to finish that whole thing to show. Your fabric
looks like faux leather under there. That's how.
Oh, really? How funny!
Cool.
Can you
shimmer.
see how beautiful that stitch is?
That's gorgeous.
It works really, really well. So you would do both of those edges. I'm just going to kind of flop this together today so that we don't take too much time. And then the next thing you're going to do is sew your seams. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to the regular foot. Where'd it go? There it is. And I'm just going to use, remember I told you that you want to start with at least a 5/8 inch seam allowance. Well, you're not going to actually stitch 5/8 now. You're going to stitch a 1/2 inch. So I'm going to go with my center needle position, and I'm going to find my 1/2 inch on there. Okay, and we would just sew that entire seam. So I'm going to go.
Sorry, hey Joanne, just real quick, what was your stitch length on that last overlock stitch, by the way?
Just at the default, whatever the default was.
There you go, Cindy.
Same thing with this. I'm just using the default setting. So what I want you to see is when you get up to this point, I should have actually done this before. You're gonna cut that fold line. Okay, so I've just snipped that fold line, and I'm gonna sew up to that 1 inch mark, which I didn't mark on here. So let's do that with some pins. That 1 inch opening. And that's where I'm going to stop and backstitch. So I'll just take a couple more stitches here and do a reverse, cut the thread, and then I'm just going to jump over now to the next starting point. And I want to start at a 1/2 inch. I'm probably not going to be too perfect on this. And I'm going to back sew that and backstitch again so that that's all locked in. And then I'm going to sew that 1/2 inch seam all the way around the rest of the hanger cover. Pretty easy. I think a lot of us enjoy doing really what I would call grandiose projects. And, some of the things we do take us, days and weeks, but it's really fun to have something that is really simple and really, really quick. Okay. So now once I've done that, I'm going to be able to turn this right side out, and you're going to see that opening that created. And I would just push that down in. Can you see the opening? I'm going to poke my thing there. That's where the hanger would go through. So the next thing that I would do to finish this is switch over to I would hem it. Skip that step, but I would hem that. For today, I'm just going to turn that raw edge under, but I would turn that under and just top stitch that. And then I'm going to switch over to another one of my all-time favorite feet, and that is the braiding foot. And the braiding foot has a slot in the front, and you see the adjustment screw here. When you loosen that screw, it loosens the plate that covers that slot, and you can slide that so that it's a little bit more open or a little bit more closed, and that allows you to put something in that slot that is either narrower or wider. So the maximum is a 1/4 inch wide, and I've got a 1/4 inch wide satin ribbon in here. So I'm going to pop this foot on. And again, all these instructions are with the hanger cover instruction. I'm going to switch to, let me see what my notes say as far as the stitch. I'm going to switch to stitch number 214. Find it here. And that on many, it's you're going to find this on a lot of Brother machines. If you don't have the exact same stitch number, it is called the tape attaching stitch. So you'll see it sew out here in just a minute. But that's the actual name of the stitch. And I'm going to change the width to 4 because 1/4 inch wide ribbon is about that width. And I'm going to increase the length to 1.4. So again, this is all in the instructions, but it's a width of 7, a length of 1.4. And then I'm going to simply show you just a little bit of how this works. I just lay that right over. I would have my top stitched hem, and I lay that ribbon over, and the braiding foot is going to guide that so that it sews perfectly smooth and perfectly straight. Just a few more inches of this, and then we can stop this. And then at the end, you would also want to stop and turn under your ribbon just a little bit, and you would overlap it with the raw edge where you started just to finish that off. But you're going to be able to see this really good with the contrast thread as opposed to how I had it, on the actual hanger cover. But that is just a beautiful, beautiful finish. It's quick, it's easy, and you're really adding a lot of extra beauty to your hanger cover. So I'll come back to the regular camera here and we can talk.
Very cute. Very cute. While we're waiting for her to come back, I can see a lot of your questions, which we'll be bringing up here in just a second. Come on back. There you are, Joanne.
Again, I'll just show you this up close so that you can see the tape attaching with the braiding foot. And then on the back, you can see where I did it pretty neat. Just folded that and then overlapped it, and then just continued the stitching until I had that ribbon all covered and tied off the stitch, and I was completely done. So I will show you the inside just so you can see the hem there, and then you can see that tape attaching stitch just kind of covered that up. So in reality, now that I'm thinking about it, and I don't know if anybody else does this, but at the end you go, how could I have done that different? With that tape attaching stitch covering that raw edge, I might not have needed to do the overcasting at all. But I like everything really finished. I think, Angela, you and I know, Angela, all your garment experience, we get kind of picky about finishing the inside as nice as the outside. So I'm going to show you my inside.
Joanne, I have to say that overlock stitch you did looked so beautiful on there. I think I would have left it like that.
you could sew lace over the top of it if you wanted to, and you don't even have to hem it at all if you don't want to. But here's the inside, so you can see what I did when I was all done. Then I just trimmed that seam allowance down a little bit. You want to do that especially around the curves, because otherwise it can get a little bit lumpy when you're trying to put it over the hanger cover. And then I used that same exact overcast stitch to clean finish the raw edges and make a really nice finished hanger cover. Again, a lot of this depends on the use. If you think it's something that is never going to get washed, then you probably don't have to worry about all that. But I don't know. I think it's from my garment sewing experience, and you have the same experience, Angela. So,
I
you know, we
wanted to
just kind of think in a different mode, and we're used to finishing everything. So,
By the way, Cindy had a good question on that foot that you had. Is there a number or a letter on it that she could?
there is not a letter on it, but it is a, let me see, I'll breeze over to my instructions here and I'll find the, what's known as the SA number. If you have followed the instructions that I do as a brother ambassador on the brother blog, you will know that I try to always have a link to the foot so that you can easily find it. And the SA number is what tells you what that actual foot is.
And Brother Social Team, they actually posted a link to the exact blog post. I posted a link to the general blog, so that should be good.
Good. For some reason, I'm not able to see my supply list page, but that will be in the instructions.
Yeah. So Vicki wants to know, you had mentioned doing a buttonhole at the top. Could you just explain what you meant by that?
Sure. If I were doing it as a big
Great question.
Rectangular piece like this,
Mm-hmm.
I can actually program in, when I would create the design, I could program in a buttonhole that would go right on that folded edge, and then that would create my opening instead of the gap.
The one opening?
Instead of the 1 inch gap.
Yeah. So depending on what machine any of you have, by the way, you could put just a regular buttonhole, but on the Luminaire, you can really make some big buttonholes, and a lot of them are decorative in there on the embroidery side. You know, Joanne, speaking of buttonholes, I've actually been using those embroidered buttonholes. I've been making jeans lately, and sometimes, you know, when you have a bulky fabric, it's hard to get those buttonholes right. You made me think of that when you just said that. I've been using the embroidered ones because it goes right there, looks great. And I think that will look beautiful on one of those covers.
It would. And in fact, this isn't the first time I've done an embroidered hanger cover for the Brother Stitching Social blog. So the blog is searchable. And if you go right to the homepage of the Brother Sews blog, Stitching Social, you can enter in hanger cover, and you will see one of my previous ones where I did it with a buttonhole. And that'll show you all the steps for that as well.
I see Roz is asking, where are the instructions? So by the way, if you go back through the comments, there are links in here. You're on Facebook, so you should be able to click on those links. And if you look down below where it says Brother Sews, go to Brother Sews, scroll down to the bottom of the page and click on blog. And Joanne's is the first one on there right now. Everybody's saying, thank you. Thank you. This is so much fun. Joanne, this was a great project.
Thank you. I really enjoy making them, and I hope that everybody that was here today will enjoy it too. Shirley, yes, I did. I did on the real hanger cover. I did turn it up, top stitch the hem before I did the braiding foot embellishment over the top of it. Yeah, just a regular turned up 1/2 inch hem.
Yeah, SA, so an accessory. I like that.
No, I never thought of that, Cindy. That's probably I never thought about what the SA meant.
That's funny. Probably. I agree. It would be a great gift.
They're really fun to make.
For Joanne, this was such a good project, and you showed it so easy to do. This could be easy to do. Show kids how to sew. That would be a great first project, by the way.
Oh, that would be really fun for a kid. That's a great idea, Angela. I love that idea.
So I have Brother Sews up above here. Don't forget, when you share things, if you're sharing it on Instagram, Facebook, wherever, be sure to tag Brother, because they love to see what you're working on, and you never know, they might feature your work. I think I've seen some of our fabulous fans here. I've seen some of their beautiful work on there. So everybody's saying thank you, thank you.
I really appreciate everybody being here. I appreciate all your comments and all your ideas, because we thrive on your ideas as well.
I like the zippered attachment for jewelry. I think that's for accessories. I love that. So down below, you'll see Brother's website, Joanne's website, my website. We would love to hear from you. We both have live shows that we would love for you to join. And Brother, thanks you for being here. So if you love the shows, be sure to leave a comment. Tell Brother how much you love these. And this whole month, Joanne, National Embroidery Month.
That's exciting.
I was going through the calendar because I was like, I know spring, there's a lot of fun things. We've got National Embroidery Month, National Serging Month, National Quilting Month. The next 3 months is going to be a lot of fun over here on the Brother page.
Absolutely. I'm already working on my Brother Free Design of the Month project for March, and March is National Crafting Month. So we'll have something special for that.
That is. Well, March is National Crafting and Quilting Month. We get a twofer.
Ooh, it's wrapped up into one. Okay, very good.
Awesome. Everybody say thank you. Thank you. Well, Joanne, it's so nice to see you. Your jackets look amazing. And for those of you that want to find Joanne, here's her website. You might want to join her newsletter. Will there be projects on Thursday? For this Thursday, surely there will not be. It's a panel. They will be showing some of their favorite ways of hooping and discussing some excellent ways of tips for doing embroidery. You know, Joanne, as you know, we could go on for hours for tips because it just builds on one another. So
absolutely. And one thought leads to the next, and you can almost see our mind, the mind turning.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, everyone, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for watching. Brother, thank you for letting your brand ambassadors take over the page. Joanne, until next time.
Happy sewing, everybody.
Happy sewing. See ya.